everybody, and welcome to Array Crew Below-The-Line FYC Conversations. My name is Dino Ray Ramos. I am the founder of Diaspora, and we have a great panel of people who are Emmy nominated, part of Array Crew, and they're very much talented. Before we get to them, I want to tell you a little bit about Array Crew. Founded by Ava DuVernay in February 2021, Array Crew is helping build an equitable workforce in the entertainment industry. Array Crew, the first database of its kind, ensures that studio executives and hiring managers are able to access a robust pipeline of qualified women and people of color to staff their television and film crews. In the months since its launch, Array Crew boasts thousands of members, more than 400 productions utilizing the database, and is backed by all the major Hollywood studios and streamers. For more info, go to arraycrew.com. And speaking of Array Crew members, we have this lovely panel. We have Michael ABELS, who is nominated for his composing work on Allen versus Farrow. We have JERIANA San Juan, who is nominated for her work on the costumes in Halston. We have NENA Ross, nominated for hairstyling for Blackish. We have DAYNA Pink, who is nominated for costumes for Lovecraft Country. And we have RONNI Brown, who is nominated for sound editing and Foley on The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Mandalorian, and Wandavision. I would like to welcome this esteemed panel of guests. Thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations on the work you're doing, that you're nominated for, and all the work you've done before, and welcome.
Great to be with you.
Thank you.
First and foremost, I think, what made you want to get into your respective roles? Let's start with RONNI.
I first learned about Foley when I was probably pretty young, trying to learn about sound effects and recording things and making fun sounds for movies. I'm more of a physical person than sitting behind a computer. So I enjoy the recording process and creating and collaborating with sound designers to kind of come up with their vision for what they view and what they want the story to convey. So that's how I first learned about it. I just kind of kept doing it and playing around and seeing what kind of stuff I could do. And it just kind of translated into more and more kind of fantasy work. I started doing kind of more independent shows originally. So I got kind of more experience doing that. And then it just kind of snowballed into doing more Star Wars and Marvel.
And DAYNA, how about you with costume design?
Well, I started out as a stylist. I always, I studied fashion, and I did commercials and celebrities and music videos and that. I grew up in Detroit. And so I did whatever I could there. Then I moved out to Los Angeles, and I was doing bands. I was styling bands, and I actually styled Tenacious D, Jack Black's band. And then he was going to do a movie. And so they sent me the script for the movie. And I read it, and I was like, wow, do I want to do a film? I don't know. It's going to take me off the market for like 6 months. Because, all our jobs as freelancers, you say yes to everything and you kind of figure it all out. And then I got in the room with the producer and director and started talking about the script. And I was like, completely blown away, because I realized that it wasn't just what they were wearing, but why they were wearing it and what it said about them. So it just changed my perspective on clothes. It isn't just about looking the coolest, what's the best, what's the greatest, what's the newest, but how can we tell a story through what they're wearing and how they're wearing it? Is it buttoned? Is it not? Is it tucked in? Are they neat? So there was a whole world that opened up to me just thinking about the difference between styling and costume design. And then I did that movie, and here we are.
Yeah, and even with Lovecraft Country, I would say that nearly every single costume in there is a particular plot point, or it helps tell that story. And especially in the episode you have, and I was a big fan of the show, but yeah, congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's part of what we do, is like we are telling the story through the what and the why and the how and the where did they get it and what are all the little details. It isn't just the big things that they're wearing, but what are the little details and how can we add to talking about them without saying anything too loudly. We don't want to take anything away from the actor and what they're doing, but we still want to support it all with our job.
And NENA on Blackish, you are a department head of hairstyling and nominated. When did you kind of make your entree into the whole Hollywood of it all.
Well, I started beauty school in high school through an ROP program. So I got my cosmetology license before I graduated high school. And then I started working in a salon, barbershop in Long Beach, where there was a lot of like celebrities coming through, rappers and things like that. And that's kind of like when I decided like, oh, I think I want to, get into the celebrity styling. So I started the journey, like most of us, doing non-union films, picking up, side jobs here, and then I did, multiple non-union shows, and I was able to become union then. And then I started just working with, great people and just being professional and very creative. Just ended up landing me job after job. And then it was just like, when producers and start calling you and requesting you for jobs, it's like, amazing. And so basically through all of that and just like doing hair shows and just being creative with my work and just building my craft, it landed me this job on Blackish, this awesome opportunity on Blackish. So, I mean, it's just been a very, very amazing journey. I'm very blessed. I'm just excited to be here, to be on Blackish, and to be nominated for such an awesome show.
Yeah. And I think like DAYNA, it's like even hairstyling tells a story. It's like even in real life, all of it with certain cultures, it's just that, I remember like even with me, there's a time I shaved my head for a reason for like years. And, that was a moment in my life. And I think like DAYNA and everyone here actually, storytelling through hairstyling or your craft.
Yes, I think that's important. And that's what we do. We have to do research, and it depends on the character's need, what the director wants. With this show, what I love about it, I can be more creative. I can bring my own style to the show. And also I deal with the characters and I say, hey, what do you want? I lay out looks and I say, hey, which look do you want? What do you want to look like? And so it's like a collaboration, with the styling. And that's what I love about this show, just being able to be creative and bring my own flair to the show. Mm-hmm. It's amazing.
And JERIANA, I think you are, again, another, costume design with Halston, which is kind of I would say a different avenue because you're designing based off of a designer, right? Or like for you, how did you make your, entry into Hollywood with costume design?
So my entry point into costume design was through fashion, where I had my start, and I knew I had a relationship with clothes and the meaning of them and the expression of them as an art form. So I really kind of started through that avenue. I think as a young child, I really didn't know I could make a career out of costume design. That was never really something that was presented to me as an option, and so when I was going through and sort of starting to explore, what I would be when I grow up, even though I loved textiles, I loved clothes. And, I was sort of also simultaneously attracted to theater and storytelling. And so it sort of just culminated in me essentially leaving fashion to just, do Williamstown Theater Festival, for no money and just pursue my passion. Because it was, having a 401k and a desk job to me was like not worth it anymore. It wasn't feeding my soul. So I left to really pursue costume design full time. And, started at the bottom. Now we're here. Just said yes to everything. I echo what everybody else has said. I think it's important. It's every possible thing is a potential to explore your talents and learn. And that's exactly what I did from the beginning. And it's been quite a journey. And I've had the opportunity to work with some incredible directors and collaborate with amazing artists. And this particular project with Halston, I really had a really wonderful team of creatives around it. Dan Minahan, our director, was just absolutely phenomenal and just really helpful, I think, in finding that artistic voice for the show. My intention with Halston was to both really pay homage and full, candlelight at at the altar to his work and to his memory of his creativity, but also to tell the story of his life. And I think that's where I found myself really in such a wonderful place that I felt so at home in, where I was sort of simultaneously sort of half fashion designer and half costume designer. I was both telling the story through the clothes in a sartorial way to reflect his clothes and to highlight the contrast of his clothes in the rest of the world, but also costume designing his journey so that the audience was able to connect to Halston and to his state of mind and really feel the emotional arc of the show. So it was sort of a great marriage of many different things and many different skills that I've built along the way. And certainly that fashion design, track really fed into this project. I applied so much of that world into this show, and I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. And I just feel very lucky that, that to be acknowledged, with the nomination for it is incredible. And I'm just so humbled and so grateful and excited to be here, like among you guys. Truly, it's really exciting.
Last but not least, Michael, you are a composer for Alan vs. Farrow, and you've done many other things, but what got you into composing? And, were you always into music? And what, was this unexpected to go into Hollywood, or was this like the plan all along?
Well, so first, it's so great to hear the stories of people in these other crafts, because I'm in post-production, and I'm seeing everything after all y'all have done everything that you've done. But as a result, I never get to hang out with you. I'm never so to hear about everybody, and I'm just seeing how much we have in common, in that we're all, through our crafts, we're all storytellers, both in our own creativity and in helping the director tell the story the way that he or she thinks that the story ought to be told. So I was always, I think my earliest memories were of music, and I started taking piano at age 4 because I wanted to play and express myself, and I was writing. I think I was trying to write by the time I was 8 even. And so I majored in music composition, and I always, music clearly is a storytelling medium. That's the part of it that excites me. So I always thought that I just wanted to write music in any venue where I could do that, I would. And I did some TV and radio commercials even right out of college, but I never really got any traction in the industry. Where I did get some traction was in concert music. I would write music for like orchestra and have it performed every now and then. And then besides that, I would teach. But some of my orchestra pieces were on YouTube, and I had a couple hits. One of them turned out to be Jordan Peele, who was looking for someone to score Get Out. And was looking for someone who could write in that way, but also maybe understood the African-American experience. He thought that would probably help the musician, empathize and tell the story. So he was kind of looking for me. And so since then, that film did pretty well. So since then,
it did all right, right?
It did all right, yeah. So since then, I've had a lot of opportunity that wasn't really available to me before that, but it was something that I had trained for my whole life. And so with Alan versus Farrow as my first documentary series, and I got to understand how the story of a documentary is in part discovered depending on the footage that they get from interviewing the people in the documentary. And I got to figure out how to pull together narratively different, the very human emotions that are expressed, but then also the media scandal and the journalists as they are trying to research and uncover the story. So there's many different emotions. You're kind of as a musician, as a composer, you're looking for the emotional, the dramatic arc of a scene, let's say. And even though it may be someone being interviewed, there's still a dramatic arc that the person goes through, and the music is designed to help underscore that arc and help people understand the point of what they're saying, and confirm that the way they're reacting to it emotionally is in fact the way that that they ought to be. So.
Yeah, and I think it was JERIANA who was talking about, a lot of us don't know these positions exist. Me speaking from experience, like I never knew I could be a journalist. I never really saw someone like me, until, of course, there was Connie Chung, but I think one of the turning points for me was seeing Sachin Pak on MTV News. I saw a lot of white men and people like delivering this like fun pop culture news, and I was like, oh, that's cool, but I don't think I could do that because I don't look like them. Mm-hmm. But when I saw Sachin Pak, I was just like, oh, she's Asian, maybe there's hope. But my parents had other plans, but that's a whole different other story. But like for y'all, did you see someone that looked like you, or was there someone that you connected with? That you were like, oh, I can actually make this a career. I can actually make a living off of this. JERIANA, you want to start? Don't mean to put you on the spot, but.
Well, I mean, to your point, I think that's something I don't get to share too often. And it's really great to actually be among this group, having this conversation, because that's so important, right? I never saw anybody who looked like my family. That was in the positions when I started to explore costume design, that was in any position of power, that was in any position of hiring, that was in any position of where I wanted to be. No, I never saw that. So it felt intimidating, and it felt like, how do I move among these people and speak the same language and connect. And what I found was to let all of my own guards drop and just speak the creative and just get to the creative was the way that I found my way in the room. And that's the way I started to feel comfortable, because I was able to share the same ideas and have creative conversations that I thought I had something different to offer because of what my experiences have built towards. I think it's really interesting that when people of different cultures come together, they're able to achieve something so much greater, because it really just expands the point of view and just expands the way that people are able to conceive the project, so it can be perceived by an audience in a much more comprehensive way, I think. And I think in my career, I really found myself kind of just saying yes to everything for, a very long time. And then when I started to be able to make selective choices, I found myself wanting to work with as diverse a group as possible. I found myself wanting to make stories that appealed to, a diverse audience. Like I really am very grateful that we live in the world that we do today, that people are making stories that I'm like, I really want to tell that story. So yeah, I think I had an experience early on in my career, like really early, like before I was even a costume designer, when I was still fashion design, where I had also been like interning for free, like sweeping floors at like a costume shop in New York City, because I was just like, let me in, I just want to know what it's like, and literally sweeping floors. And I met a wonderful designer named Willa Kim, who's an Asian designer and who was just an absolute all-star Broadway designer, and she's just a legend. And she was so kind to me, and I let me take her out for coffee, and she came to a fashion show with me, and she was just kind of everything. And she was so outside the box that she, I think, was the one spark for me of, oh, there's a place for unique people here. Like there's a place for, not everybody looks the same and not everybody comes from the same point of view. And I think I am grateful to her for like expanding my mind in that way.
And RONNI, I think with being a Foley artist, I think that's very specific, and it's a very interesting craft. Like, I'm fascinated with it. There was like a long time ago, I think there was like this sketch with Jeanine Garofalo and Ben Stiller a long time ago. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. Do you know what I'm talking about? Okay. And I thought it was funny, but I was like, oh, I'm sure it's like, that's not how it is, but it's like, but it's just very fascinating. For you, how was this like kind of this journey into, I mean, like, of course it's going to be the industry started off like male dominated and everything like that. But with your sector, how is it there? Like, how was it you entering that space?
Audio post-production is consistently proven time and time again to be very much a boys' club. And it takes a lot of effort by women to break through for a variety of reasons. And luckily, my mentor and the people that I was looking up to here in Northern California were by and large mostly women. There were really only 2 Foley teams here, and they were all women. So I was really fortunate to have that kind of inspiration, because throughout the world, the biggest names in Foley are traditionally men. And I had been told repeatedly over and over again that there was no way I could do big, heavy men's footsteps and make these big, loud, sounds that were needed that only men could do. And time again, I've just repeatedly done bigger, I've done Darth Vader footsteps. I've done Kylo Ren footsteps. I've done big, bombastic, huge droids, and just proven over and over again that it doesn't matter, that I'm still capable, just as capable, and sometimes even more capable, because I just have a wider range of experience. I am also one of the few moms that does Foley. I walked Bucky Barnes' footsteps in Captain America at 7 months pregnant. And, it was a challenge, but it also really kind of, I think it, for me, was a very important step to say, I can have both. I can do both. I can be professional. I can be just as good as all of my male colleagues and still pursue motherhood and still pursue a personal life, and to be someone that can have it all. It's not easy. It is painful. It is brutal. And I need a lot of support. But all the women that I encounter really have the same experience, that when given an opportunity, more often than not, they're kind of expected to fail. And then we almost consistently rise, not just to expectations, but exceed expectations. And I think the comfort I'm feeling now is that there's a little bit more of an expectation that that's how we operate and that's what we do. And that all the women that I work with and that I work for, we have amazing women at Skywalker Sound that are pushing the boundaries of and pushing and getting these higher and higher and higher jobs, doing supervising sound editor jobs, doing sound design, and working on these, big blockbuster movies and showing such amazing representation. And that's what the studios are insisting on. That's been another big help. We have Marvel, we have Disney, we have Lucasfilm, all pushing for more representation, not just on screen, but in who is working on their films. So that way we can all feel that representation. We can all feel that connection, and someone has that shared experience on screen. The person that's making, when I'm looking at this, mom who's running around after her kids on screen and trying to get them in the car and put on their shoes and all of that kind of stuff, I can relate. So therefore I know what I want to do and how I can help convey that kind of chaos. And it's really cool to kind of be included with all of these different professions, because I feel like part of my job is actually to enhance or support. I support the score, I support the costuming. When the costuming is really cool, I make all the sounds for it, and Phantom Thread was another good experience of that. It was a lot of costuming, a lot of fashion, and they were very specific in their textiles, and that was like really special for me to have that connection, as I love fashion, but I've never, it's not part of my job. So I get all these connection points, whether it's relating personally to the people I'm working with, whether it's relating to the people or the things that are represented in the story. It's really so collaborative. And when it's not just this kind of boys club, it just feels so much richer.
Mm. Oh my God, Ronnie with the tea, come on. Has there been a specific point in your career where, in your respective fields, where your personal perspective, experience, identity helped with the authentic storytelling and made you think, wow, representation really does matter? I mean, we all know representation matters here, but it's like when it actually happens, it's like, oh, I didn't even realize I could do that. Like I could bring my perspective in, help the bigger story as a whole, and kind of make someone feel seen. Michael, do you want to answer that?
Well, Get Out is one example. I mean, in Get Out, there's it begins with a kind of a song that warns Chris, the lead character, and essentially they're telling him to get out, but the voices are meant to be ghosts of departed slaves and lynching victims. And so ghosts don't often speak to us directly, they speak in metaphor and shadow. And so I thought, well, I'll use Swahili because it's an African identified language, but our American audience isn't gonna get it, but they're gonna hear Black voices and they're going to know that there's somebody saying something that's not good, but they're not going to know. And when you know that there's something bad, but you can't tell what it is, that's 80 times scarier than something you can identify, right? So, so I am not a Swahili speaker, but I've had some experience in singing gospel. And so in talking with Jordan Peele, our first conversation, he was talking about how the music needed to sound clearly African-American in one sense, and yet really scary. And I said, I think you're talking about gospel horror. And I didn't know what that was, but he liked that. He liked those words. He didn't know what it was, but we liked those words, you know, and that came out of a conversation that wouldn't have occurred if we weren't both mixed race, you know, and understanding the, for example, he said, you know, all African-American music has some level of hope in it. And I had never thought of that, but just the fact that he would notice that and say it, and even the blues, you know, is based on, it's kind of the understanding that, you know, things are bad, but they're going to get better, maybe, is kind of inherent in the music. And so that's the kind of conversation that you get to have when you're in a diverse space, I think. Also in music, just I was really loved what Ronnie had to say about how she can do the sounds that people don't identify with her, and how NENA said she can do all kinds of hair. And like that's the thing, as musicians, composers, we talk about how someone looks at us and decides what kind of music we can write and what job we'd be good for and what job we wouldn't be good for based on how we look. When we're not on camera, you know, like, none of us, how we look should not relate to our craft, but that's how people are. And, you know, so I love the opportunities like Get Out, where my background can inform the score. And then there's jobs like Allen versus Farrow, where, you know, in some parts of the world, I was in effect the darkest face in the room, you know, where I was not chosen having anything to do with what style of music I was expected to write based on my cultural background, but based on my musical ability. And I think all of us, you know, can say that we're here to, you know, diversity matters so much because it helps people make good decisions when they have a vast variety of experience and opinions in the room where the decision gets made. You know, we've seen companies do things that are, you know, make cultural gaffes that they didn't have to make, even when they were desperately trying not to make those mistakes. And they could have avoided the mistake if only they had an array of people of different backgrounds and genders in the room when they made those decisions.
An array.
Yeah, exactly. That's not accidental. And so to the extent that people on this database, for example, and in Hollywood from different backgrounds are in the room when those decisions are being made with any of our crafts, it's going to, even if we are not seen, our contribution and our background of experiences is going to resonate in the work that results.
Nice. With Array Crew, y'all being part of that, and just being in the positions you are, how do you hope to pay it forward, make space for more people of color, women, and other underrepresented voices? Someone told me once, it's like they're in a position of power. They're like, I'll reach up and reach back. How do you, want to kind of use your platform to kind of just continue the need to bolster representation in Hollywood and beyond? We'll start with JERIANA.
I want to start by saying, it's interesting because of my background, definitely because of my background, that every little marker of success that I've achieved, I think about my family. I think about the fact that I'm so grateful to have been born here, first generation born here. My grandmother worked very hard to get us here, and my family has always worked very hard. So every marker of success, I think about them, and I feel like I still do it for them. And I feel like maybe that sentiment can be shared with a lot of people here. But 100%, I think about what my background, I think about where I came from. And so when I get those markers of success, and when I'm able to achieve, a certain level of, being able to choose my projects and be in this position, I want to choose the crew that's going to come with me. And I want to breed that back into the costume design community 100%. I have a really hard time sometimes finding peers, diverse peers, and it's in New York, and also finding assistants at a certain level of experience who are diverse, because opportunities haven't been given. So I always hire as diverse a crew I can, and encourage that from entry-level positions like PAs, so I can start bringing people to this side, of the fence. It really feels like it's just, there's not, the quantity isn't always there. And I actually really appreciate Array for what they're bringing to the industry in a way to sort of facilitate that, because it is, it's extraordinarily hard to crew up a show, period. But then when you try to do that crew and do it as a rainbow and really bring those different perspectives and those different experiences and those different backgrounds, it's that's a job unto itself. So that's sort of what, to me, that's what Array is really bringing to this industry, and I'm so grateful for it. And it's just all about trying to, I know how hard it was for me to cut my path. I would love it for the next person to not have to dig as deep.
Oh, there's a shirt. That is a
Patent
shirt.
pending.
DAYNA, how about you? How do you hope to pay it forward and just use your platform to help, other young women, or just like, I really love what JERIANA said. I think there is this lack of just access, period. And, and I think people like us, I think hopefully, we can kind of open the door to more people.
Yeah, I agree. I have worked for so many years saying yes to everything, like everybody has been saying. Yes, the answer is yes, 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 yes. When I started out, I did makeup, hair, costume, and script supervisor, all of them in the same day, like everything, $100 a day. I just said yes to everything and did it. But now, however many years later, and I'm at this place that I am, which I'm so grateful for, I feel like I have the opportunity, and I have, I'm so grateful to be able to say, what do I want it to look like now? What can I do about this? And how can I participate? Like, we can only rise to the occasion, to the party to which we've been invited, right? So like the only thing that I can do is, what do I want it to look like, and how can I make it look like that? Because I did work so hard to get to the places, but and I didn't even know what I wanted to do exactly, but think about all these people that know exactly what they want to do, and they're trying so hard to get there. And now we have a place to look and say, you know, let's bring this person in and let's give them a try. And maybe we do have to train them, because it's true, there isn't this huge, deep well of people with a lot of experience to hire, like JERIANA was saying. So can we do something about that? And now, is it our job not only to do our job, not only to be a costume designer or whatever else we're doing, but is it our job to change what this world looks like, and to kind of improve it, and to give people an opportunity that wouldn't have had it before? It's so amazing to me to have a place that I can look to find new crew and to train people, because that's what we have to do, that we have to be responsible for changing it. And I feel very lucky to be in a chair that I get to make those decisions.
NENA, how about you? How do you plan on reaching up and reaching back?
I always like to reach up and reach back. Since I've been in this position, I've called friends, and I'm always, you know, hiring. Like if I do take a non-union job or something like that, I try to hire all non-union people to give them a day to come in and say, hey, this is how it works. This is what you need to do, to kind of prepare them and get them ready. This is what you need to do to get your days. So I'm constantly training people and showing them, because it's in our business, it's not just about doing great hair. It's about everything else that comes with it, being professional, you know, knowing the proper things to say. So I'm always reaching out to people. And now, because the industry is more diverse, there's more diverse actors and things like that, they're requesting African Americans or people that look like them to do hair. So the doors are kind of open a little bit easier now than when I was coming along. So it's kind of like if I'm working on a show and I need help, I can just pull in a person and say, hey, you know, come over here, work for a day, work for 30 days, get your days. And we'll have another person in our industry that can provide what this industry needs or what that actor needs. So I'm always teaching, I'm always training, it's like when a person trains under me, it's kind of like I tell them, it's going to be a lot of information, but by the time the end of the show comes, you'll know everything that you need to know. It's constant this. And I'm kind of like an on the spot person, like, hey, don't do this. And hey, make sure if you're spraying hair, don't spray it next to a lantern, because it could catch on fire. You know, I kind of teach as I go, you know, and learn in this business. And that's kind of how it is. So I'm always reaching back and pulling people forward, because it was so hard for me to get in. I don't want anyone else to have to go through that. So I'm constantly teaching, training people, and sharing this information so that when they do get in, they can get it right.
And Michael, how about how are you kind of just using your platform and, you know, hope to kind of pay forward?
I would be that person spraying the hairspray. I saw myself there. I hear all of us, you know, we're all people who understand that we've been blessed with some success, and we want, you know, that we want to make it better for the next generation in whatever way we can. And this, I've always felt the single way that we can do that in our daily lives is to hire diversely. You know, we're each in a position where we have a chance to give some people some more experience at some level. And when we have those opportunities, if we include inclusion as an important part of how we make those choices over time, and with all of us, we can make a huge difference. And it doesn't feel like it's making a difference when it's one person at a time, but ultimately that's the only way you hire people. It's an individual connection of one person at a time, and giving someone an opportunity to build their, to build their resume and get those credits that make other people, you know, want to feel comfortable working with them. And I think that that's what Array is doing, is bringing all of us who want to do that in our own small way together in a place where everybody can find us and know that we're all kind of doing that as a team, as a virtual team. And so I've been trying to do that when I hire assistants, and I try to, you know, talk to and encourage young people who may feel like they don't see themselves represented in the music industry or in the parts of the music industry that they want to be in, you know, and we all just have to keep doing that. And I'm really grateful that Array is providing everybody to have an opportunity to do that together.
Well, thank you all so much for coming out for this conversation. It was so great to hear your stories and sharing, you know, what you're doing just to kind of keep hope alive, I guess you would say. And again, I really appreciate all y'all's work, and kind of, I love your thoughtful answers, and just, I love that term, reaching up and reaching back. I mean, I have to give that credit to Wilson Cruz, who, for, you know, My So-Called Life alum, and, you know, on Star Trek, he's just great. I remember interviewing him, and he was saying, I love to reach up and reach back. And I was just like, oh, that is, I'm going to steal that. So, but thank you so much, Michael, JERIANA, NENA, DAYNA, and RONNI for spending time with me today, sharing your stories. And again, congratulations on your Emmy noms, and please continue to do the work that you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dina.
Thank you.